Hello there, you're tuned into 7Edition. I'm Sabrina Zainal and these are tonight's headlines. Schools in Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, Putrajaya, Penang to remain closed. Prime Minister warns action will be taken against Malaysian companies in Indonesia over forest fires. And Malindo Air investigates data breach involving 30 million passengers. We begin the bulletin with this story. All schools and kindergartens in Selangor, Penang, Putrajaya and Kuala Lumpur will be closed until Friday due to the worsening haze conditions. As for the higher learning institutions, Education Minister Dr. Mazli Malik said it is up to their administrators to decide whether to close or not. Meanwhile, a total of 1,484 schools involving over 1 million students in 7 states were ordered closed today.
Pengetua dan guru besar boleh mengumumkan penutupan sekolah sekiranya pada pandangan mereka keadaan jerebu semakin teruk dan berdasarkan trend bacaan IPU pada hari tersebut. Maksudnya diberikan kuasa kepada pengetua dan guru besar. Jikalau mereka lihat walaupun 180, 190 tapi dilihat trend semakin meningkat, mereka diberikan kuasa untuk mengumumkan penutupan sekolah.
As for the teachers, they can opt to work from home if their school were closed. Dr. Mazli also said the classes don't have to be replaced as it's considered disaster leave. Today, 538 schools in Selangor were closed, followed by Sarawak, 337 schools, and Perak with 303 closures. 4 other states are Penang with 162 closures, Kuala Lumpur 66 schools, Negeri Sembilan 53 schools, and Putrajaya 25. Now, the Prime Minister today warned that action will be taken against Malaysian companies operating estates in Indonesia responsible for causing the haze. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad pointed out that such companies must be made responsible for their fires in their properties, even if they are outside Malaysia.
Speaking to the media in Putrajaya today, the Premier said the possibility of passing a law to prosecute Malaysian companies guilty of causing fires was among the matters discussed during the cabinet meeting today.
We did discuss about jerebu. We think that we should publicize the actual effect more through government statements, showing where the hotspots are. We also want to take action against those Malaysian companies which have estates outside Malaysia which are contributing towards the haze because of burning in their estates. We will ask them to take action to put out the fires. But of course, if we find that they are unwilling to take action, we may have to pass a law which will make them responsible for fires in their property, even if it's outside Malaysia.
Indonesia's Environmental Affairs and Forestry Minister Siti Nurbaya Baka was quoted as saying that several palm oil companies believed to have partly been responsible for the Indonesia forest fires were subsidiaries of Malaysian groups. Jakarta was said to have sealed off plantations operated by at least 30 companies and have brought criminal charges against 4. Tun Dr. Mahathir said he has not written any letter yet to Indonesian President Joko Widodo on the haze issue. The Prime Minister also said Malaysia has taken a few measures in tackling the effect of the haze, such as cloud seeding, confining people in houses, and closing schools. But there is also a need to find new ways to reduce the haze.
Meanwhile, flight operations at the Sultan Azlan Shah Airport LTSAS in Ipoh were cancelled due to the worsening haze. Airport manager Muhammad Ali Osman said the decision was made when visibility in the area worsened from 1,500 meters this morning to 800 meters in the afternoon. The flights were cancelled as at 9 this morning, affecting 6 flights in LTSAS. It involved airlines company AirAsia, Malindo Air and FlyScoot to and from Johor Bahru and Singapore. The areas around LTSAS were found to be less crowded as many passengers decided to travel via land to reach their destinations.
In another development, the cloud seeding operations scheduled for today and tomorrow have been postponed. Meteorological Department Director General Jailan Simon said this was due to dry atmosphere and strong winds. The operation would have covered some 200 areas in the peninsula, especially Selangor and Negeri Sembilan. He added that the cloud seeding operation would only be carried out once the weather conditions are conducive. Among the factors to be considered to carry out the cloud seeding operation are clouds, suitable wind conditions, and the right humidity level.
Now, the haze condition in peninsular Malaysia has continued to deteriorate, with 11 locations reporting very unhealthy API readings, all of them in Penang, Kedah and the Klang Valley. At the same time, the condition in Sarawak has improved slightly, with only 2 locations reporting very unhealthy air. Sri Aman, which had readings above 400 yesterday, has now gone down to below 250. To find out more about the haze situation in Penang, our correspondent there, Selvam Arjunan, has the latest updates. Hi there, thanks for joining us tonight.
Few days of clear sky, today Penangites woke up to haze-shrouded state. At 7 morning, Balipulau breached a very unhealthy level of air pollutant index, API, of 204. Therefore, 51 schools in Barat Daya district were instructed to close. At 12 noon, 111 schools in Timur Laut district were also closed down. By 6 evening, the API recording for Balipulau increased to 257. Meanwhile, Minden recorded 230. In mainland, Seberang Perai recorded 189 and Seberang Jaya recorded 186. Due to the increasing index, all 398 schools in Penang were ordered to be mandatorily closed for tomorrow. It involves 239,398 students from all over the state. Meanwhile, all lectures, tutorials and outdoor activities in University Science Malaysia were cancelled today. State Environment Exco P. Bunpo said there is no indication of rain for next 10 days. He also added that the situation expected to be worse due to strong southwest monsoon blowing from Sumatra towards Penang. To make the matter worse, Penang International Airport, PIA, was also affected. Airport Senior Manager Muhammad Nazim Hashim said 4 flights from Penang and to Penang were cancelled. 8 flights to 6 destinations were delayed and 2 inbound flights were forced to turn back. He added that 5 cargo flights were diverted to Kuala Lumpur, Langkawi and Medan. A runway visual range was limited to 1,500 meters today. The Penang government has opened an emergency center at the PIA due to worsening haze in the state. Also in neighbouring Kulim Kedah, the API reading was above 200 at 6 evening. Selvam Arjunan for 7Edition.
Thank you so much for those updates. Now, moving on. Meanwhile, thousands of schools across Indonesia have also closed as the air quality worsens. The country's environmental groups have launched a stinging rebuke against the Indonesian government for its lack of seriousness in tackling the fires, claiming it had committed a serious breach of human rights.
Indonesian authorities said hundreds of schools in hard-hit Riau province in Sumatra were shut without providing a precise number, while about 1,300 were closed in central Kalimantan province. Illegal fires to clear land for agriculture are blazing out of control on Sumatra and Borneo Islands, with Jakarta deploying 6,000 troops and waterbombing aircraft to tackle them. The forest blazes are an annual problem, but this year's are the worst since 2015 and have added to concerns about wildfire outbreaks worldwide, exacerbating global warming. The Indonesian government has insisted it is doing all it can to fight the fires, with President Joko Widodo saying during a visit to a hard-hit area in Sumatra on Tuesday that they have made every effort. The smog is also affecting endangered orangutans in Borneo, with dozens of the young apes at rescue centers contracting respiratory infections, according to the Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation.
In other news, two friends will be spending 2 weeks behind bars for stealing 2 Persian cats. 26-year-old Ahmad Al-Hazignawi and Muhammad Hafiz Muhammad, aged 36, were also fined 2,000 ringgit each by the Kuala Terengganu Magistrates Court. Now, the duo had earlier pleaded guilty to the charge of voluntarily disposing 2 Persian cats which were stolen. The offence was committed at KT Aquarium in Jalan Sultan Mahmud, Kuala Terengganu on September 9th. The two accused could spend another month in jail if they failed to pay the fines. Elsewhere, a 27-year-old lorry driver pleaded not guilty at the Kuantan Sessions and Magistrates Courts after he was slapped with 12 charges, including robbery, rape, and impersonating a police officer since June this year. The accused was charged with 7 counts of robbery and 1 count each of raping and molesting and 1 count of impersonating a police officer. Harsono allegedly committed the offences between June 16th and August 2nd at several locations around Kuantan involving female victims in their 20s. The Sessions Court freed the accused on a 71,000 ringgit bail for all charges with 1 surety, while at the Magistrates Court, Harsono was charged with outraging the modesty of a woman and impersonating a policeman. October 17th was fixed for case remention. The Prime Minister today also launched the foreign policy framework of the new Malaysia in a bid to tackle challenges and explore new opportunities in the country's foreign policy. He said Malaysia will now approach certain issues affecting its interests under the 3 approaches outlined by the framework.
We are living in a world where changes take place at a very rapid pace. These changes bring both challenges and opportunities. It is therefore only logical that Malaysia does not stick to the traditional methods of engagements and instead proactively seek to explore new approaches.
Tun Dr. Mahathir said the framework had also captured the salient issues that he raised in his speech at the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly last year. The Premier gave the assurance that Malaysia will continue to pursue an independent, principled and pragmatic foreign policy founded on the values of peace, humanity, justice and equality. Coming up, Indonesian cargo plane carrying 4 goes missing. We'll be right back. We're back with foreign news. An Indonesian cargo plane with 4 people on board lost contact with air traffic control as it was heading toward mountainous Papua in the latest incident to hit the country's poor aviation record. The aircraft was carrying 3 crew members and 1 passenger, as well as 1.7 tons of rice. The Twin Otter DHC-6400 set off from the city of Timika on Monday at 10:39 a.m. local time and was headed to Ilaga in the remote eastern province of Papua. It was scheduled to arrive 50 minutes after taking off, but no information was provided about the plane's whereabouts since. Search and rescue have been assembled for the missing plane, which was flying in a good weather condition. Indonesia relies heavily on air transport to connect its thousands of islands, but mountainous Papua is a particularly difficult area to reach. The country has a poor aviation safety record, and Papua is a particularly problematic place to fly, also due to its frequent poor weather. Next, United Nations investigators have called for an expert evaluation of whether Myanmar civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi can be legally implicated in the abuses committed against the Rohingyas. They say that Suu Kyi may not have been knowledgeable about the violent crackdown against the minority since 2017, but at the same time, she also failed to address it.
The fact-finding mission to Myanmar, set up by the UN Human Rights Council, said they were not equipped to determine what level of responsibility Suu Kyi should shoulder for the Rohingya crisis.
It's still an open-ended question, to what extent she might be implicated. But then again, that is for all of us to make our determination as to how we see the country moving on further into a more democratic setting.
Marzuki also said that it is up to the judicial process to determine whether the Nobel Peace Prize laureates will be implicated. Meanwhile, fact-finding mission panelist Christopher Sidoti said the human rights situation in Myanmar hadn't improved over the last 12 months and in some ways has gotten worse.
The time has come for the international community, whatever that is, to appreciate the fact that return is impossible now, and are we going to expect that 1.2 million people to continue to be hostages to the negotiations and the pretense that it's going to happen any day?
The Human Rights Council recently created a panel to prepare criminal indictments over atrocities committed in the country. One of their conclusions include branding the army operation as genocide and called for the prosecution of top generals, including Army Chief Min Aung Hlaing. The panel has also suggested that hundreds of people could face prosecution for criminal acts against the Rohingyas, including Suu Kyi, who has come under scathing criticism for her silence and inaction.
Now let's head over to Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. It's important to keep a watchful eye on young children, or they possibly could end up getting terribly hurt. On Saturday, a video of a 3-year-old boy crying over his hand getting stuck between an escalator belt in a mall in Klang, Selangor, went viral with over 260,000 views, drawing netizens to criticize the parents of the child for their carelessness. Here's the story. According to Oriental Daily, a CCTV footage revealed the boy and his mother were on the escalator, with the latter holding her son's right hand. But his left hand was seen sliding along the handrail repeatedly till it reached the landing, which led his hand to get caught at the bottom of the escalator. Witnesses saw the commotion and gave assistance while comforting the poor child. Netizens were furious at the parents for their negligence, while stressing the importance of a child to be monitored at all times. In the end, the mall staff managed to remove the boy's arm from the escalator, and he was rushed to the Klang Central Hospital for treatment. Fortunately, the boy's arm is still intact and functioning, and only suffered a minor skin tear. Thanks for staying with us. Malindo Air Malaysia said today that it is investigating a data breach involving passengers' personal details. The subsidiary of Indonesia's Lion Group said in a statement that the details of around 30 million passengers of Malindo and fellow Lion Group subsidiary Thai Lion Air were posted in online forums. Now, the statement added that the leaked information included passengers' passport details, addresses, and phone numbers. Lion Group and Thai Lion Air have yet to comment. Malindo Air said it was notifying authorities internationally about the incident and advised customers with online frequent flyer accounts to change their passwords. It declined to provide more detail on its investigation, including how many customers were affected, but said it did not store any customer payment details on its servers. Moving on, AirAsia Group Berhad co-founder and Group CEO Tan Sri Tony Fernandez is to step down from all his positions except in AirAsia Group and AirAsia X. He, however, did not say when this would happen. In a tweet today, he said the decision was taken to move up the next generation of AirAsia leaders to the forefront. Now, last month, AirAsia announced a leadership reorganization in support of its transformation into a travel and financial platform company and build AirAsia.com into a lifestyle brand. Tan Sri Fernandez doubles up as CEO of AirAsia.com, AirAsia's travel and lifestyle e-commerce platform, with an eye to appointing a new CEO who will report to him in due course.
For taxiing, waiting around for people to load their bags.
Bursa Malaysia extended the earlier downtrend to close lower today as investors' risk appetite was weighed down by cautious market sentiment. The FBM KLCI was 4.81 points easier at 1,599.49. An analyst said the FBM KLCI cautiously traded on the sidelines as investors awaited the outcomes from the Federal Reserve's two-day meeting due later today on monetary policy for more precise signals before diving into the market. On to stocks to watch. London Biscuits Berhad LBB announced it received writ of summons and statement of claim from Malaysian trustees Berhad, Alliance Bank Malaysia Berhad, and Bangkok Bank Berhad. Since the financial facilities granted cannot be utilized further for working capital purposes, it will put additional strain on LBB's tight liquidity position. Besides that, LBB previously defaulted on a loan of 9.8 million ringgit, which caused the company to slip into PN17, raises alarm. Next, IHH Healthcare Berhad announced a fair proposed acquisition of Prince Court Medical Center for 1.02 billion ringgit investment cost yesterday. Meanwhile, a further upside potential from EBITDA margin expansion and revenue growth in medium term is targeted. This asset will also help IHH grow its market share in medical tourism. And last but not least, Allianz Malaysia Berhad is leveraging well on its market leader position in the national motor insurance segment. It also delivered better than industry performance in the life insurance segment. Though the cost ratios seem peakish, the company is anticipated to recover as the group works towards a less motor-dependent base while keeping cost management light. For most technology startups, one of the biggest challenges is scaling up fast enough. At Sokar, a car rental company, they believe the secret to success is talent acquisition. Find the right people and the sky's the limit. We met with the company's CEO, Leon Fung, to find out how he manages the company in Corporate Kings this week.
Sokar, unlike traditional car rental company, uses an app for everything, from verifying the users to unlocking the car. If you're wondering what the name means, it's Social Car. The company sees itself as a mobility company and wants to help people access vehicles at a cheaper price. We asked Leon about the major challenges he faced when Sokar first started 2 years ago.
I think the challenges are constantly evolving. I think when we first launched, the key challenge was educating the market on what car sharing is all about. Fortunately, 20 months in, we've now amassed a customer membership database size of close to 500,000, and we've seen user education levels go up. So over time, the challenges have evolved, and now, I think the day-to-day is very much focused around two key issues. Right? One, which is how do we further drive efficiency in our platform and improve on the customer experience? That's something that we constantly want to focus on by leveraging technology. My style is very much based around building ownership and empowering people with that sense of ownership. So what this means is I like people to really understand the vision and the goals of the company. So it's very communication oriented. It's very target or key results oriented, where people know not just the task, but the key results and the goals behind it. And after that, I really empower them to drive projects and to come up with innovative ways to attain those targets.
These are the new fleet of cars that they are fitting with tracking devices that will work with the app over wireless connection. By the end of the year, they expect to have 2,000 cars. One of the challenges then is protecting them.
One thing we need to take into account is obviously the damages and the loss rates to each different car type and combine that with the right type of insurance policies. So that's also something that we constantly think about, which is how do we protect our assets, reduce downtime while ensuring the consumers get the convenience and affordability that they want. One of the first things that I did when I joined was really try to build a strong talent acquisition infrastructure and really incorporate data to it. So things like candidate experience. How long does each individual typically wait in the funnel before the first interview? How long is the gap between the first and second interview? And how long is it between the last interview and the offer being made? Well, one of the key questions that we love to ask is, number one, tell me your story, your personal story, know what's on your CV, and what gets you out of bed excited every morning. Right, number one, I think motivation is very important. And for me, your CV tells me about your past experience. What I'm more focused on is about your trajectory. It's about what can you contribute to me in the future. So I don't want to look at your historical track record. I want to know about your future performance. Right? And I strongly believe the personal motivation, right, in terms of you being able to tell me what motivates you, what convinces you to want to join this industry, that to be very important.
While the technology may help open doors, it's the right talent that will drive the company.